Welcome to Everything They Don't Want You to Know, my friends. I am Jesse Blaze Snider. I am here to rip the veil off the secrets hidden by the powerful, the elite, and the mysterious societies that pull the strings behind the scenes. Together, we're going to uncover the truths they've hoarded away, the knowledge taught in the shadowy halls of Freemasonry and whispered among the most influential people on the planet. Quote, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. JFK. I agree. Secrecy breeds ignorance, and ignorance breeds control. I'm here to challenge the status quo, smash through the walls of silence that have kept the truth from the light. As Edward Snowden said, the worst conspiracies are open and notorious. This isn't just a show, it's a movement, a revolt against the darkness of hidden knowledge, an uprising for transparency, and I'm here to empower you with the information that has been kept from you for far too long. So buckle up and prepare to question everything. Welcome to Everything They Don't Want You to Know. How you doing? That's my little intro that I wrote a little while ago. I've only done it on a few episodes of the show, but today I decided to do a special report in place of the follow-up kind of third part to Laws of Attraction, which I'll get to next week, I guess, if nothing comes up. But I want to talk about aliens, UFOs, and what's the submersible. It's a UFO if it's an unidentified flying object. A USO is an unidentified submersible, and that is something that happens a lot. You want to see weird objects and stuff that come out of the ocean, you can find lots of videos for that. So I've talked about this before many times. I was a skeptic, atheist, or maybe more agnostic is a bit more fair to say, for most of my life until I was 28 years old, when I had an experience that really opened my mind, and I decided to start to explore more deeply some of these things that I had poo-pooed in the past. One of the first ones was aliens. So, I have a lot to say about aliens beyond what I'm going to say to start out, but let me just tell you where I started. So, I started looking into aliens. And I had looked into a few other things at this point, and the thing that I came to understand was, in a lot of cases, when it comes to these conspiracy anything, it's not that there's like a lot of evidence, proof, video, whatever, but there are witnesses. There are people who claim that they had an experience with Bigfoot or whatever it might be. And it's really kind of up to you to go and seek out all of those people. Not individually, but try to find their interviews, try to find them online, see what they're saying, see if you believe any of the things they're saying. And often is the case, whereas you may not believe everybody, you do find that there's a number of people that you very much believe, and those people's stories become sort of the baseline for you understanding and noticing, oh, this guy had a similar experience to that guy. And then you start to see parallels within the stories, and then it makes it much easier to understand, what a Bigfoot encounter looks like. Well, same thing with aliens. There are thousands, literally thousands of encounters online that you can find. People talking stories, telling stories about this stuff. Abduction, being abducted, interactions with aliens on one level or another, and they are incredibly consistent. Some of the consistencies that you can find and that will line up with other things that can take you down to other rabbit holes is that there will be American soldiers interacting with Russian soldiers, or Russian soldiers interacting with Japanese soldiers, or interacting with American soldiers. Those three, I'm pretty sure. It's either Chinese or Japanese. I think it's Japanese. I've looked deeply into this in a very long time. But allegedly, they have a secret space program, these three, the Russians and the Americans, and either Chinese or the Japanese. I think Japanese. It's been running since the end of World War II. They funnel tons of money from the war budget, to this space program. What do you do with $5 trillion every year? They're spending it on crazy things that they just never tell us about. And the shit that they try to like roll out and be like, yeah, we spent that $5 trillion on these planes or whatever. It's always bullshit. They are, this money, crazy amounts of money are going into secret programs. The secret space program that you can find out about, if you dig into that, is a way better explanation for everything than any explanation that they've given. Is it the right answer? Well, I don't know. It's all this information. There's information out there. I'll tell you that the information that they give us does not make any sense. And I can tell you that these stories of these people being abducted, they're very consistently, there are soldiers working with the aliens in some capacity or another. Very consistently, these stories go with spotting the aliens going through your underwear drawer and, getting pregnant and having the baby mysteriously disappear. Things like that. There's a recent season of American Horror Story. They have Dwight D. Eisenhower in there making deals with the aliens. These are all things that are purported to be the case. That there was a deal that was struck shortly before we had all this major push in technology with microchips and all this stuff that all of a sudden we knew how to do. When we got a bunch of technology from these aliens after making some sort of deal with them. And allegedly there was a good faction of aliens who came first. And we didn't trust them or whatever, but the other ones were offering us things, so we made deals with them. So, this is all just fucking speculative information ultimately, but it is consistent conversations, narratives that you will find. The individual stories about the alien abductions are way better, honestly, because it's just so many different people talking about a similar experience that they had, that gives you more of an idea of what's definitely going on some level than anything else. On some level, obviously, the Russians and American soldiers are working together. Just so happens there are also some rumors that, perhaps after World War II, they got into cahoots. They manufactured the Cold War as a means to make it like, oh, yeah, we're going to fight at any time. But really, they're actually in cahoots in this quiet underground group of basically higher-minded military explorers who think that the public isn't ready to handle the truth, are off doing all sorts of shit. Okay? So, aliens. So people are getting abducted. This stuff's happening. And these aliens that we tend to think of as aliens aren't. They aren't aliens. In fact, I'm not so sure there is any such thing as aliens. All of these beings are dimensional beings, highly intelligent beings that have developed technology that allows them to pierce the veil, so to speak, to adjust themselves, to vibrate themselves into different dimensions and into different dimensional states. So many of these crafts and depictions of these beings in various ways have been shown throughout time in various cultures. They're just never interpreted correctly. Nowadays, there's a lot more interpretations that are probably closer to reality. As you see things like what is it, the Zachariah Stitchin based the show, like everything's fucking ancient aliens. Everything's ancient aliens. But it's not aliens. Higher beings. We seem to be in a quarantine zone spiritually. We are lower vibrational on the totem pole. There's much higher levels of consciousness to evolve into, and we are not there. And there is a lot of evidence for me of ways in which we are sort of trapped here in this plane and being predated upon by energetic beasts on the other side of the veil, eating our shitty energy until we learn that this, it's not worth creating all this shitty energy and raise our vibrations higher above it. And which point, when that happens, I think a lot of interesting things are going to happen. And I think a lot of beings that are not aliens are going to come out of the woodwork. Beings that are living in mountains, beings that are living under the ground, beings that are living under the ocean, beings that are living maybe in places currently beyond the reach of mankind in one way or another, but not necessarily off in the stars, but basically right here. Now, specifically, the aliens who made that deal with Eisenhower and have been abducting people in America, and I'm sure all over the planet, they are future versions of ourselves who have come back in time to interact with our physical bodies on like a biological level to try to get information, knowledge, and means to fix some major problems that they caused for themselves. And I guess we would say that this is an alternate timeline version of ourselves that have evolved to a point where they disconnected themselves somehow from their souls, for lack of a better way to describe it, and they are sort of like they've been cut off from the spiritual path to some degree, and they are trying to use science to get themselves back into harmony, physical harmony, and they're trying to create these alien hybrids, basically trying to create bodies for themselves that they might be able to go back into and inhabit. My love of my life has dealt with and deals with aliens and alien abductions. I'm basically positive that I was paralyzed one night while she was taken out. I had a lot of weird experiences that evening. I kind of got up the next day and through a spiritual conniption and meditated and reached out to these beings and told them in no uncertain terms that they were not allowed to do that to me ever again, that I felt that was a huge violation of my free will, and I've sort of warded them off from my girl and her family, period. And I haven't actually seen any evidence that any abductions have taken place since. And I do believe that it is for you, if you're dealing with something like this or whatever, and you suspect whatever, to use your free will to say, no more, not like this. This is a violation. They're treating you like a deer. They're tranquilizing you and bringing you up into a spaceship and doing all these things to you. This isn't cool. You are high enough of a being that they can communicate to you and they can talk to you. They can explain who they are. They can try and make inroads to whatever it is that they want to do to try and figure out how to reconnect themselves to their souls or whatever. But they have to talk to you. They have to say, hey, listen, on some level, you are me. Or, hey, on some level, that guy is you who I work with. And, we're all, in a bind and we need help. And that's basically the situation they're in. But they're forcing themselves upon the public through this deal that they made with Eisenhower back in the day. And I'm sure there's been more contact since that. But these beings are not aliens, okay? They're not aliens, but there are a lot more than just them, a lot more. There is a book you can find on the interwebs, or used to be able to find it. Apparently, Russia was a lot more free with this information, and they had a big red book of Russian aliens that was going around. They would literally be handing it out and collecting information. Have you had contact with any of these? If you've had contact with any of these aliens, please add your story. Or if you've experienced new aliens, and there are hundreds in that book alone. Major ones that I am aware of that that are a range of things are mantis aliens, which are giant fucking mantises, who apparently are they're beings that are occasionally seen in some of these abductions as well. They are a sort of neutral being that puts itself to whatever sort of like the reigning energy of the universe is at the moment. And apparently, but for a long time, it was not positive. But we've switched into a positive energy, and now apparently they're positive now. There are plenty of reasonable accounts of one way or another of draconian aliens, these lizard-type beings of lots of varieties. And that's not even necessarily to connect them totally with dragons, which are something that is more elemental, and there's a lot of differences in a lot of these beings, but there's so many types of beings, and within consciousness and dream states, people are connecting to the Lyrans, which are like lion beings, and people who beings that you would generally, if you were, it's not a hard leap, kind of like associate with like the Thundercats, these beings from space who are like these super good beings trying to free the consciousness of mankind, and there are many beings associated with various star systems and whatnot, and again, don't put the alien thing upon it. It's not the situation with space and all this. It's not exactly the way they're telling us. And I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I can tell you that ultimately you are creating your reality individually. And for you, the earth is fucking flat and there's no space, because you can't see it. You can't perceive it. Everything is just you creating a torus field going up into expansion and then coming back around again and into itself. You are everything. You are the universe, and you mapped out on top of itself over and over and over again, just broken up into different dimensions, is every other being on planet Earth. Me, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, the ants, every molecule of creation. Everything is just like in a stack. And dimensionally, it's separated by time and space and all these things. And then the reality just continues to go up, 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 again, just separated by time and space, separated by all these things, but it's all just one thing, this one piece of consciousness, differentiating itself in every bit of absolute way. So, these beings like Lyrans or the Arcturians or the Pleiadians or any of these people who you might see that some people are channeling, and I will tell you, absolutely, I have spent enough time listening to some of these Pleiadian channelers or Arcturian, they're absolutely channeling some higher force. And I know that too because I have spent enough time searching for essentially the meaning of life, the things that I've been teaching you over the past, or reminding you of over the past dozen episodes of this show, the things that are the building blocks, the fundamental laws of reality, the laws of this consciousness that is generating your experience, right? And in knowing that, you always know the right answer when you hear it. And when you hear the Lyrans channeled through somebody or whatever, if it's a real channeling, you go, yes. Mm-hmm. And when they're not, you know as well. And it's funny, the highest levels of so many of these channelings, they'll always be telling you, don't just believe it because I say it. Look into this yourself, investigate this yourself. And I think I try to tell you those things as well. I don't want to be sitting here and be Johnny on the spot with all of the details and all the information because I want you to look it up. I want to be Johnny on the spot with the big picture, the overall. Overall, I've looked at this a lot. Yeah, there are aliens. Overall, I've looked at this a lot. They aren't aliens. They're dimensional beings. And some of them are just fucking, other beings that live here who are better at hiding. And, this notion that if they're here, we should be able to find them. I think you would be surprised how smart and good at hiding some other beings on planet Earth are, especially when the human beings have very noisy minds. And in a quieter world, a world where energy is being read, and a world where we're more connected, I believe it's easy to hear a human being coming. I'll say that much. I'll say that much. So, aliens. So we got these guys abducting people. We got this Russian book of freaking hundreds of, I want to say 500, but I don't know, I'm not sure if it was that much, but it was hundreds. You got lizard creatures. You've got dogmen and Bigfoots. And I mean, it's all the same fucking thing. Beings that are staying out of the way of us one way or another. And I mean, there's plenty of credible stories of all of these beings in one way or another. Mount Shasta and so many different mountains all around the world. And I mean, you talk about to the ancient yogis and stuff who lived in these, like, they were guarding entrances to the underworld. There are so many stories of the underworld, Agartha and whatever other places. Stories of mankind and whatever other beings entering into passages into the underworld as they opened up to save themselves from floods, save themselves from whatever else. Floods might be a bad example. It's going to flood. We're going into the hole, but it's flooding. But you know what I'm saying. From storms, or one reason or another, temperatures, volcano eruptions, whatever. The truth of the matter is, we seem to be sort of like maybe the dunces at the table. And not maybe. We're the dunces at the table. And the smart people at the tippy top of our scale, of our humanity, they're keeping us that way. They're not the dunces at the table. They know what's really going on. And they're making their lives better and solidifying their power by utilizing this information. The reality is that the majority of aliens or dimensional beings want to help us, want to raise things up. The amount of aspects of God's consciousness that are on the side of good is just astronomical to the infinitesimally small evil that has been dominating this consciousness and this vibration of our reality for a long time. But the consciousness of reality has sent many higher consciousnesses down to our planet. I know that I am one of them. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call myself a higher consciousness. It's always so stupid when you talk about these things, because it makes it sound like you think you're better than people or something. I don't think I'm better than you on any level. Please never think that. I love you, and for every positive thing that comes with having a door open for me to learn some of these things, it's really harrowing and difficult and not fun, and I don't really like it. And I mean, just thinking about it right now is making me want to cry. Please, we're all one. I'm you, you're me. It's all the same thing. I'm just the voice coming out of this Jesse Blaze Snider microphone right now, but it's your voice. It's your voice coming at you. And higher being, lower being, there's some vibrational beings who were already in a higher vibrational state came to try to help the people who were suffering in a lower vibrational state. And in doing so, we've had to go lower vibrational, and it's very hard because we brought in these high vibes, and basically what that does is it opens up a door for even lower vibes. And so the path of a higher quote-unquote vibrational being tends to be a lot of lower vibrating. My mom had once said to me after I was like pointing out somebody else who I thought was somebody who was who was sent to help. And she said to me, she said, "Why do you always think all these drug addicts are angels?" I said, because it's really fucking hard to come to Earth when you know that things can be better. And a lot of us turn to substances to try and create heaven on earth because we have such a hard time creating it here, even though we know it exists. So it's a lot of suffering. It's not fun. It's like being somewhere, having an idea that things could be so much better than they are, and feeling like you can't quite do anything about it. But you just have to change your reality. And that's what I've been doing. I've been changing my reality. Because it's not about sharing in the misery of like the reality that we see that's miserable. It's about creating our own reality where we can have a good time and things can be great. Anyway, I love you guys. And, I'm just trying to explain that the consciousness of God or the universe, whatever you want to say, is balancing things out. It's sending in some fresh beings, and you would just kind of call them higher vibrational in this context, to help give a higher bar for those people here on Earth who have not been able to taste of that sweeter nectar. So it's basically sending in the people who go, no, 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 it could be better. No, 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 it could be better. No, no, I know, I've been there. Because we had people basically who were here who were trapped in sort of a limited idea of their consciousness, a limited idea of their capabilities. So the universe sent in consciousnesses, a lot of them, with higher ideas about the capabilities of our consciousness. And that is going to help raise all of our consciousnesses. And there's so many people, and I mean, we're all just as important. It's just as every single person, is just, it's like the higher vibrational beings, like they're not important. Like it's the lower vibrational beings who are important. You guys have to fucking do the work. You guys got to lift yourself up. We came down here and we did something that was really hard, but it's going to mean nothing if the people who didn't know any better can get some of these messages from some of these people who are the right people in their lives who have been sent here to show them that no, 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 you can go a little higher in the ladder. No, 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 you can be a little stronger. No, no, no. And it's when those people recognize the power within themselves and start reclaiming it, that's when all of this is really going to be coming together. So if you're out there and you think that, you might be one of those people who was tapped on the shoulder, go fucking get yourself together and then help. Help. Because it's not about us. We came to raise their vibrations. And it starts by getting yours right. But then make yourself available. Put yourself in places to help show people that great high vibe. That's great. We got to raise everybody. We got to help raise the whole planet, the whole grid, the whole earth. It's all got to come up. And we've been brought to try and raise this vibration, not for ourselves. We did this. We could have been hanging on the side. But the calculations were done, and without some help, it was going to fall apart. But we can't just get lost in being happy in our own realities and being by ourselves. We got to be a part of the community, and we got to vibrate in our natural state. We got to be ourselves, and we got to be authentic. And I know that's really hard for you. I know it's hard for me. Makes me want to cry saying it. But if that's you, that's what you got to do. Because we got to raise this place up. These lower vibrating aliens or dimensional beings, they can't get at us when we get our vibrations to a certain level. When they're low, they can get us. And, I'll talk about it in the future maybe because it's some next level shit. But, I've been very regularly attacked. I know my family's been very regularly psychic attacked to try to stop us. I've dealt with a lot of depression and anxiety and so many things. And it was a long time before I realized that it wasn't all me,
that there were things acting upon me to keep my vibration down. And I thought I was being noble so often by succumbing to some of these feelings that I would have because something wasn't right in my universe and I didn't do what I felt like, I don't know, everything that I maybe could to have fixed it or something. And I allowed myself to hate myself and be angry with myself, be disappointed and drudge up all of this negative energy, which has kept me back, which has held me back. Energy like that has held back my family and holds back many people on planet Earth. The higher beings of a negative variety have very high technology, and they are well secluded, but getting at us from afar and feeding on our energy from afar. And it is terrible. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's some feeding on our energy that's not going on from afar as well. But that's, there's very, very few sort of accounts of that stuff that you can hear. Some of the ones that I've heard, I do believe, only because when I have gone into meditation with Mother Ayahuasca and other powerful plant spirits, and I have communed with them and asked them, is this true? They have told me every time, yes, it's true. So I believe it's true based on the psychic impressions of conversations with plant medicine people. So you can take that, I believe it's true, with that grain of salt, as I even take it with that grain of salt. But there's this great picture I love. I forget the name of this company. They visit a lot of comic conventions, and they make these really cute but super hyper detailed pictures, often of monsters. And there's a great one of this monster, and he's camouflaged. He looks like a greenery, but right on his face is just like the simplest print of a bunny. Right over his mouth, right between his eyes, a white bunny just kind of standing up. And there's a white bunny and a couple of his white bunny friends right in front of him. And he's standing up right in front of him like, hi, white bunny. And this monster is about to eat him. And unfortunately, that's the window into what we're up against. There's a lot of little quiet activity that has gone on for a long time, starting from way, way longer than you were a particularly conscious and aware and intelligent being. Now, the things that have been done, it's like it would be impossible to have been done yesterday if we were as smart as we are now. So when you look, you go, how do people, this is impossible. But no. It would be impossible now. It's not impossible yesterday. And actually now is becoming more like yesterday by the minute as the internet becomes a dead internet and something that's being locked up. Videos that I could find online a decade ago, I have a hard time finding now. It was a fabulous documentary on frequency, on how we would go set up our radio towers in various places. We would go to Guam and we'd go to Vietnam, and then all of a sudden they would be inundated, the hospitals would be inundated with American diseases like meningitis and shit. That we were getting it from the frequencies, the television frequencies, the radio frequencies, the Wi-Fi frequencies, the Bluetooth frequencies. I know all those frequencies are not good for the human body. Go set some stuff up with some plants and have it blaring all the time. See what happens to that plant. This is the world we're living in. Subtle choices like that. Who makes that choice at the tippy top of things? What frequency to go down? Some think tank. Somebody made the choice. And it's those tippy top decisions that ultimately choose everything for us. Now, this pandemic that we experienced, this, the fucking vaccines, all these things, all the heart problems that people are having now, the athletes dying on the field and whatever other people who have been passing away because of this. We call it a pandemic because I've been fucking researching this shit for 20 years, okay? This was what they said was going to happen. This is everything that every fucking conspiracy theorist under the sun said they were planning. Like all of it. Deeply. On every fucking level. They were right. 100% right. When it happened, when it started to happen, people like me were like, holy shit, it's happening. And then when the mainstream fucking world was like, yeah, you better get your shot and everything, we were like, what? No? Are you fucking nuts? What are you fucking nuts? Like, this might be new information to you. This alien thing might be new information to you. It was new information to me when I dug into a few thousand. Well, I probably didn't watch all 3,000, but I watched at least 1,000 fucking interviews with people about aliens. You know, I spent like a year fucking digging into alien shit. And, you know, what's his, not Rob Schneider. Phil Schneider, is it? He's one of the early guys who told a story about Area 51 and what was going on there and various. There's so much to dig into about aliens, and then like it's just you're going to feel kind of dumb when you open the door, because all of a sudden you're going to see not only is this like true, but like lots of people have known it's true for so long that they're way past waiting for me to fucking decide that it was true, and they're comparing notes and figuring out more and more things by the day. Ooh, look, this guy wrote a book, lots of information, let's go check it out. Like, it's like that. It's not like, hey guys, maybe this is true. Like, no, it's like true, and you're late to the party. You're very late. Super late to the party. So let me give you the crash course in being late to the party. Late to the party, these globalist motherfuckers or whoever, they want to try to make us think that the aliens want to be at war with us, and that, like, you know, we're going to have some sort of aliens in the sky. Right now, you know, I decided to do this as a special report because in New Jersey, there's a ton of car-sized drones in the sky over New Jersey. They don't know anything about it. They say that, you know, it's not dangerous. Granted, the higher beings, they're not dangerous. The lower beings are dangerous. But the lower beings they don't want you to know where they are. They don't want you to be able to go take your pitchfork and go try to actually get them. They are intelligent, and they are off the grid. They stay out of the fucking way. Those ones are the ones that you have the least amount of encounters with, of stories of people dealing with them. Smallest amount. Especially because I'm imagining that people who do have encounters with them die. But they're there. The more flouty, they're going to do a fucking air show, and they're going to show us a bunch of things. You know, some amount of showing up and showing us things and little things, what it is sparking people's imagination. It is making people realize that there's more. There is so much little bit of things in the sky, and they've come to inspire us, connect with us on some level or another. A lot of times people will have spiritual experiences, soulful experiences when these spaceships are seen. They'll connect to them in a much deeper way than the person who just happens to see the thing or whatever else. But the seeing of a spaceship, of these, some of the configurations of lights and these things, I mean, these things are incredible. I've seen, videos, I've seen plenty of things that are really, really neat. Like in terms of configurations and triangles and things like that. But for me, with my own eyes, I have seen a shitload of incredible things. I mean, at this point, I've seen at least a couple dozen UFOs. One of them that was very interesting on the top of my family's home in Redondo Beach. We were having a barbecue or whatever, and there was a helicopter flying around this ship, and it was just sitting there, and it wasn't, vibrate. It was like plugged into space, just kind of sitting in that little nodule. And this helicopter was, vibrating all around it. And at a certain point, it like dropped low, it went from where it was in the sky, and it went really low in a completely straight line, like it was like on a ruler, straight line. And then at a certain point, it might have went. It was where it was, and then I think it maybe went up, and then it went straight out in a straight diagonal line, like in a flash, gone. My first big UFO sighting was something far scarier than that for me. I I had a little walkway between my house and the garage where I had my action figures and the stuff that I would do, like my like hobbies. I'd listen to music out there and, smoke some marijuana or whatever it is, like to chill out, like on the weekends. And one night I went out to the garage, and I guess it was like dusk kind of thing, and went out to get something. And I come out of the garage and I'm walking inside, but before I walk inside, I see what looks like a bird. Except before I get to the door, I realize that the bird is like flying in the straightest line I've ever seen in my life. And it's not quite like a bird. So I step back and I try to get a better look at this thing. And I'm looking, and yeah, man, it is like straight line. And it's moving so slow, like really slow. It's just like in this permanent glide, really slow glide, just a slow, like it's like barely moving, but it's moving straight across the sky like a juggernaut, unflappable, but slow. And I'm staring at it, and I can't fucking figure out what it is. And finally, my intuition clicks in, and it says, "Get a wider view." And I pull back my view, and I realize that this is the front of an invisible ship in the sky. And this is inertia on this camouflage that it has, that is taking the camouflage off just right at the tip of the ship, and it's allowing me to see the tip. But the tip is allowing me to see the rest. And I can see, I shit you not, a ship that had to be the size of 2 football stadiums. 2. It was huge. And it was flying so fucking slow and invisible across the LA sky. When I saw it, I was so scared, I felt like a squirrel, and I jumped behind my fence because I wondered if I could see it, could it see me? And I looked up at this thing and got a good look, and I'm trying to think of something to describe, to compare it to. Kind of looked like a big harp or a big rib cage with like big, what looked like big, really big thrusters or like gun heads on like either side of this really wide bow-shaped craft, like a really short, fat horseshoe with big kind of like, you would imagine like thrusters coming out the back of it or something. That's kind of what it looked like. But like the Predator, like just fucking invisible in the sky. Huge. And I literally was just like, I just wanted to go away. I just wanted to go away. I just wanted to go away. And I sat there behind my fence until it was gone. And I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy how fucking big it was. It was crazy how fucking slow it was going. Because it wasn't going anywhere. You don't go anywhere that speed. It was cruising. Fucking cruising. I suspect it's still up there somewhere, fucking cruising. Unless it's decided to go spend some time elsewhere. But holy shit. Was this thing huge, and was this thing moving slow? Just a week later, in that same little in-between, a bit later at night, I was going in between my garage and thing. Once again, just getting something from out there, because it was like, that was my space. So, I would like leave things, or I'd have something that I wanted to get in my notebooks back there, whatever. And above the house again, coming from Los Angeles, I see what looks like a fucking man-o-war jellyfish glowing like a lava lamp and shooting up from Los Angeles like a rocket. This time, my ex-wife's inside. So I race inside to try and drag her outside because just a few days earlier, I've seen my first spaceship and I'm telling everybody how I saw a fucking spaceship and I feel stupid. So I'm like, this is obvious. I got to be able to prove this. I run and get her. I get her just in time for her to see it sort of like bending off into the distance, but she could still see it clear as day. It was very clear. I mean, like I said, it looked like a fucking man-o-war jellyfish, and incredible. And I've seen more than that, but no need to freaking spend a whole show talking about seeing aliens or whatever. It doesn't matter. Seeing UFOs. Now, the government also has all sorts of interesting technology. There's any number of things that you think that you might see that could be government ships and whatever else. But there are plenty of alien crafts, higher being crafts, and crafts of these beings that are living here on the planet, unbeknownst to us, whether they're in mountains and other places. There's plenty of people who have reported going into Mount Shasta or whatever, seeing a city there, and it's like I'm serious. It's granted, it's people talking, but multiple people talking, many people saying the same things. And if you go dig into it yourself, that is what you will find. I recommend you do that. But let's get rid of that alien concept and let's start thinking about these guys as our spiritual dimensional brothers, in some cases tricky ones. And we need to be aware on a much larger scale what kind of universe we're living in and what level of trickery some of these beings can get up to, so that we can be, not being consumed by them. But part of this trickery would be getting us into some silly fake war with extraterrestrials. There's a prediction of a war in the sky with extraterrestrial beings, and and they've talked about making this a negative thing. My brother, who works in Hollywood and film, he was having a very difficult time getting comedy with the aliens greenlit. In general, they want to depict the aliens as dangerous. They want to depict the aliens as scary. They want to depict a scary solar system and a scary world where bad things might happen and whatever else. But humor and wisdom is what we need going into this new stage of reality. There are a lot of higher beings who are very good, who wish to connect with humanity and help us. And those ones will definitely be able to help us to get rid of all of the vestigial pieces of the evil and the crap that has been going on before we have been conscious enough to connect with some of these higher realm beings and get the guidance and wisdom that we need to avoid the manipulation and the predations of some of these shitty dimensional beings, not aliens, that exist here on planet Earth. And according to plenty of people, there are plenty. And, I guess I'll leave us on one last bit. I had a trip, a spiritual trip to Sedona with some friends of mine. We did psilocybin mushrooms, spiritually, and meditation. We were out in I don't know exactly where we were out. We're out in the fields, of Sedona. We're out there, and I connected with a ship. I saw a ship in the sky. And I realized that I was seeing it because of the state that I was in, because I was on the psilocybin. I was in a higher state and I could see it. When I saw them, they seemed to notice that I saw them, and they tried to disappear. And for a second, they became invisible. But I could feel that they were still there. And I sort of sussed them out, and I sort of brought them back into my vision. And when I did, they took more interest in me. And very quickly, they had come closer in their ship. And then I felt them, I don't know if they beamed down or what, but they were like a football field stadium away from us. And I was like, holy shit, like, there are aliens and they are right over there. And as I told my friends this, then all of a sudden I felt that they had come even closer. They were now about 50 feet away. I could feel them. They were behind this bush. There was a really big bush that was near us, and it was like 50 feet away. And they were there. They were behind it. And my ancestors, my intuition, my spiritual guides, or whoever, shouted to me, they don't, have your best interests at heart. You don't want to interact with these beings. Because for a moment I thought, oh, am I about to meet some aliens? Like, I know that there's good aliens. And they went, these are not good aliens. You don't want to meet with them. And I immediately began shouting in my mind, get the fuck out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. Go. This will not be easy. You will not like interacting with me. And I guess they believed me because I felt them all of a sudden back away at that stadium distance again. And then I felt them gone from there. And they were up. I saw their ship, heading out. But, and that's the closest I've ever had of like any real encounter physically with a being, other than I also do believe that I was paralyzed while my girl was abducted. And she had a lot of the signs of abduction that she had had previously. And I don't remember exactly what, but like just some real weirdness with my sleep and some things that had come up, and we had, sussed it out and figured it out at that time. But, most people interact with these beings and they never know it. I've, in my later life, I think that as a child, I had some interactions with some higher dimensional beings, and at friends' houses, and I've remembered it after the fact. I've remembered it as an adult, like, what happened at that friend's house? That's right. I experienced like a thing there, experiencing certain frequencies and things that I've now sort of experienced again as an adult, maybe on some level or whatever. But you are constantly interacting with dimensional beings on one level or another, and they are trying to help you for the most part, the good ones. But the good ones, their interference is very slight because they don't want to interfere with your free will. The bad ones, they think that they can get away with interfering with your free will by kind of wagging their dicks in your face and showing you that they're screwing you over to some degree. But no, that's not going to cut it on the other side of things, and they have a lot of karma coming their way, you trust. And I mean, because they're going to get to the other side and they're going to realize that they've been messing with and like stifling the consciousness of God. And it's just them. They're stifling their own consciousness. They're hurting themselves. It's just like the quagmire of stupidity here on planet Earth, of like just consciousness hurting itself. It's so dumb. Apparently there's a certain configuration of some of these beings that have basically decided to like, fuck God, like screw you, God, and we're going to show you. And it is long term, it is just the dumbest game ever played. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, these poor bastards. The journey that they're going to have to like come out of this is just so stupid and useless. But whatever. This is the game we're playing here on planet Earth with higher dimensional beings and aliens and all this shit. Aliens. No aliens. No aliens. UFOs, USOs, and dimensional beings. Not all of them higher. I guess that's all I have to say. I just wanted you guys to recognize that if you start seeing there's sky battles and bullshit, dude, this is just more control mechanism. This is just more of the show, more of the nonsense, trying to keep you under wraps as a consciousness. Just get your mind right, get yourself together, start loving yourself, start taking care of the people around you, start living your best life. None of this shit can touch you anymore. Anyway, I'm Jesse Blaze Snider. I do a geek culture show every Wednesday and every Saturday called Coolest Geek Alive. About to record a coolest pick of a film or a TV show like I do every Saturday for in a little bit. I don't know which one I'm doing though for that. And every Wednesday I'm usually just either gushing about something that I love, like that I'm a big geek about, or kind of taking apart some of the things that they're doing in the mainstream with things that people like me love, and they're fucking it up. Also on Mondays, I do a music show called All Your Favorite Bands Suck, where I do features of all of my favorite bands, just bands that I think mostly that don't get enough respect. Rap, punk, humor, ska, so many different types. Sorry, I'm like, my back is kind of driving me a little crazy, and I'm getting ready to wrap up the show. I'm having been a little sore in my back from traveling on the airplane and stuff right now, so I'm going to wrap this show up. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for helping me to grow my audience. Now with this fourth show that I do every week, we're, well over 1.5 million downloads every month. And it's because people like you are listening. So thanks so much for listening to the show. Thank you so much for being a part of the movement that I'm trying to start here. A movement of passion and wisdom and understanding. Anyway, I love you guys, and I hope you will join me again next Friday for another fucking awesome episode of Everything They Don't Want You to Know. Peace.
There's something in the water. There's something in the air. The proof is all around us.
It's not a matter of time. Sure as the blaze in your eyes, I sense a subtle shift. Instincts I can't resist, weary of wolves in disguise. Drunk on a gallon of wine, red as the rivers you dried. Bad apples spoil the punch, bruises and rotten fronts. You've got a thirst you can't hide.
There's something in the water. There's something in the air. The proof is all around us. The symptoms are everywhere. There's something in the water. There's something in the air. The proof is all around us. The symptoms are everywhere.
Might be a fault of design.